One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights, the only show dedicated to helping you learn both the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking process. My name is Alex Mason, and I am your host. Thank you so much for joining me. We're talking about all the technicals now. We're going through these technicals one by one, episode by episode, and just breaking everything down into as simple language as I can possibly conceive to make sure that both you and I understand these concepts inside and out, because as we go through these concepts are building and our knowledge and understanding is just expanding so much. So I'm so grateful that you're joining me today. We're talking about leverage buyouts today. And specifically, today's question is this: why do an LBO in a risky industry? Why do an LBO in a risky industry? Now, we discussed what the ideal attributes of a company are that make it attractive for a leveraged buyout, right? We've discussed those things. And if you remember, the number one attribute is stable cash flows. That's typically what we want as a private equity investor. And as an investment banker, as the advisor, we have to understand that our clients are really going to be looking for that as one of their big factors when doing an LBO deal. So why would a PE firm want to get into these so-called risky industries? Why would they want to do that, especially if the cash flows are not so stable? Because that sounds like risk, right? Well, here's the answer. There can always be exceptions to the rule, and it really depends on the objective of the firm and what their specific expertise and strategy is. Because even though, for example, the technology industry tends to be a lot more volatile than many others, they may have companies within that sector that are attractive for private equity investment, or at least for some private equity firms. You see, private equity firms might specialize in certain areas of the market, and so this quote unquote riskiness is really balanced out by that specific expertise and the desire to invest in certain strategies. And I'm going to go on with a few examples here of these certain types of PE firm activities that might be okay with quote unquote risky industries. So first of all, you have private equity firms that focus on turnarounds. Turnarounds. This is a specific type of investment activity where a firm is helping a company that's struggling, and they're helping that company to get to a better place and improve their financial profile. Think about a company that's on the verge of bankruptcy. A private equity firm might come in and say, look, I'm going to buy this business for super cheap. They might buy it for, who knows, 5 cents on the dollar, 10 cents, 15 cents on the dollar. Essentially, they're buying this asset or collection of assets at a super low price with the hopes that they can make some improvements and turn this company around. And of course, what happens if they're successful? If the company turns around, even goes from bad to mediocre, it doesn't necessarily have to go from bad to great. That improves the valuation of the company significantly. And then potentially the company could be sold at a much higher multiple. So that's why some private equity firms are really excited about turnarounds. But it's a specialized operation because Warren Buffett actually has this quote that he's wary of turnarounds because they rarely turn around. Companies that are in dire straits are usually there for a reason, and it can be a very difficult thing to turn them around. But nonetheless, Some firms specialize in this type of activity. Also, industry consolidation. This is another consideration where private equity firms are really focused on bringing together multiple players in a fragmented industry. And you can see this all over the place. There's a lot of industry consolidation across many industries and sectors of the economy. And this can be potentially lucrative because of the economies of scale and the potential synergies that happen when you can bring multiple businesses together under one leadership team. Let's say that in your town, there are 5 different major car wash companies that exist. And let's say they're all independently owned. What if you went in and you bought one of them, really optimized the business model for that car wash and competed effectively against the others, and then began buying out the other car washes in that town and then slowly systematizing them and optimizing them under your system? Well, what would you be able to do? You'd be able to improve your margins, probably. You'd be able to lower your costs through improving those margins. You might be able to cross sell customers. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could do, but this consolidation aspect is one thing that private equity firms might do in a quote unquote risky industry because they're doing these roll ups. Basically, they're combining businesses together. And then the third example I want to give you today is that private equity firms might focus on divestitures. Divestitures. It's an interesting word. And the way I think about it is it's kind of like the opposite of an acquisition. When a business sells part of its operations to another entity. So instead of buying another company, you're selling part of a company. You're selling a division, usually, or a certain business line. For example, a company might sell an underperforming division in order to help streamline their operations. It's kind of like getting rid of the problem child in the company and just focusing on what's already working. And so, yeah, companies do this all the time, and they create acquisitions for someone else that sees value. And so that's another example of where private equity firms might be able to have specific expertise in some of these kinds of areas and enter an industry that some others would consider risky for whatever reason. Okay, that's what I got for you today on Investment Banking Insights. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me, for hitting play each and every day that you check this show out. I hope you're getting value out of this. And the only thing that I ask is if you're getting value out of this show and you know someone else who would get value out of the show, just share with them an episode or share with them a link because that helps the show out so much. And really, my mission here is to help out as many people as I can who are on this very interesting and kind of niche path of investment banking. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful to you for listening and sharing the show. I'll see you next time. We're going to keep on talking about leverage buyouts, specifically how to increase those returns. I'll see you next time.